Hello, I'm Kerry Shamblin, and I practice jyotisha, also known as Vedic Astrology. I have been offering a monthly forecast since 1999 where I track how the planets are moving through the sky and how they may be affecting our life on Earth. I also work directly with others through counseling, teaching, and mentoring. Hello, this is Kerry with the September 2025 Vedic Astrology forecast. We're going to start with a summary from the 9 planets. If you don't have the time or bandwidth to listen to the whole entire forecast, the summary might do it for you. Let's start with the Sun. The Sun reflects self-confidence and individuality. For the first half of September, the Sun is comfortable in Leo, diminished somewhat by the eclipse energy of Ketu, but bringing light to obstacles that are self-imposed. When the Sun moves to Virgo on September 16th, we are offered data to analyze that could have been difficult to access prior. A partial eclipse of the Sun on September 21st, near the autumnal equinox, invites us to shore up our self-care and health routines as winter approaches. The Moon. September opens with a waxing moon that becomes full and then totally eclipsed in Aquarius on the 7th. Look within to find sources of strength, wealth, and prosperity. The moon wanes through mid-month, joining the Sun in Virgo on September 21st for a partial solar eclipse. Again, look through the cracks to find new ways to care for self and others. Mars. Mars in Virgo through September 13th has us tuning our engines for maximum efficiency. This is also a good time to analyze data and gather diagnostics. Don't let pressure build. Find a release valve. When Mars transits to Libra mid-month, tap into unconventional creative growth potential by making new connections and redesigning on the fly. Mercury rules communication and exchange, 2 major facets of everyday life. The first part of September sees Mercury moving through Leo, encountering the nodal axis, which could make transactions bumpy. Slow down and double-check your words and math. Mercury moves into Virgo on September 13th, putting him into organizational strength for the remainder of the month. Jupiter's growth potential has been expanding the sign of Gemini since mid-May 2025. During September, the mutual aspect between Jupiter and Rahu that is stirring things up in the air signs becomes exact. If you've been waiting to see if seeds are going to sprout and new shoots survive, this could be a telling month. Venus, ruler of relationship and connection, begins September in the emotional sign of Cancer, urging us to shore up our own well-being by connecting with the people who support us. On September 14th, Venus moves into Leo, feeling the heat as well as the instability of the nodal axis, bringing attention to creative trajectories that may need some adjustments. Saturn continues to backpedal in retrograde motion through Pisces in September, pressuring us to let go of the defunct systems and detach from toxic relationships, unproductive routines, and rituals that have become habits. When the Sun moves in to oppose Saturn mid-month, we may feel some friction between individual and collective demands. Rahu's center stage moment comes on September 7th when he engulfs the full Aquarius moon for just a moment in a total lunar eclipse. Perceiving the true nature of our desires may result in temporary disappointment as we come through the eclipse zone with unexpected information that could tip our decision-making in a surprising direction. Ketu, the South Node. The headless energy of Ketu can result in either intuitive brilliance or unfortunate mistakes. Currently eclipsing the planets running through Leo, we could use the shadow play wisely this month to reveal how we may, in some way, be causing blockages to our own path. Have compassion when you uncover those ugly truths. Sit with them and then find the solutions that are born from deliberation rather than reaction. For an in-depth analysis of specific planetary placements, please continue with the full planetary forecast. The outer planets hold the frame. When we talk about outer planets in Vedic astrology, we focus on the slowest moving visible and invisible planets, Saturn, Jupiter, and the nodal axis known as Rahu and Ketu. Saturn stays in each sign for 2.5 to 3 years, Jupiter stays for 1 year, and the nodes stay for 1.5 years. Between late March and late May 2025, all of those planets shifted signs, setting the scene for the remainder of the calendar year and through May 2026, when Jupiter moves to Cancer. There will be an interesting little preview in October and November that may bring a few clues about how things may shift after next May, when Jupiter changes signs. Jupiter will move out of Gemini and into Cancer on October 18th, pushing forward just 1 degree into Cancer before starting a retrograde cycle on November 11th, which returns Jupiter to Gemini for the remainder of that transit on December 5th. In September, the nodal axis gets some airtime, with 2 eclipses landing at the full moon of September 7th and the new moon of September 21st. Rahu, currently in Aquarius, is strongly placed to do his best work, foster instability, innovate through problems, and find common ground in the ever-changing environment that we know as life in the modern world. Rahu's aspects carry his turbulent energy into Gemini, Leo, and Libra at this time as well. These are all active, outgoing, and masculine signs, holding the energies of communication, leadership, and connection. This is go for it energy, especially for the 4 signs mentioned, Aquarius, Gemini, Leo, and Libra. Leaps, or even hops of faith, after at least some form of risk assessment, are recommended. This vibe continues through late November 2026. Ketu's energy tends to pull strongly where he is placed, so the obstacles and blockages which Ketu brings, as well as the solutions and liberations, are strongly rooted in the sign of Leo through November 2026. Think of those suddenly dropped roadblocks as an invitation to let go of something you were too dense to realize you don't need any longer. Reversing course, trying again from another angle, turning left instead of right, launching a rocket ship, sitting down with your tangles, anything goes. But look at those stubborn situations as problems to solve for the purpose of finding some freedom, not punishments for wrongdoing or mistakes. Saturn entered Pisces on March 29th, 2025 for an almost 3-year stretch. This placement asks us to find our own weight and purpose as we navigate larger cycles of endings and beginnings. Pisces is a watery, shifting, and expansive environment where the offer of liberation can be overwhelming when just meeting each day's responsibilities is calling relentlessly. Saturn affects Pisces the most, followed by Taurus, Virgo, and Sagittarius, where his aspect and energy extend. Knowing when to let go and what to let go of is the trick at this time. Until late November 2025, Saturn remains in retrograde motion, which could make it evident that some of your things and situations have only perceived legacy value, not relevant current value, which could make releasing them a bit easier. Jupiter continues to bounce through Gemini like Tigger, which could cause rapid shifts when it comes to big things like educational trajectories, spiritual work, and stable growth. May 2025 through May 2026 is the year of big ideas. Write them down, make vision boards, and throw spaghetti at the wall as you test drive, realizing that not every seed that sprouts makes it to the fruiting stage. The sign of Sagittarius is receiving the energy of both Saturn and Jupiter, gaining the power of sculpting just the right amount of sustainable growth. Find Sagittarius in your chart and tap into the combo platter of expansion and contraction being offered at this time. The signs of Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra are all receiving amplified growth energy due to the resonating aspect between Rahu and Jupiter. Especially during the first 2 weeks of September, we could feel a surge with the aspect between these two becoming exact. Aquarius full moon, total lunar eclipse, September 7th. The moon waxes through the first week of September, becoming full at 22 degrees Aquarius on September 7th or 8th, depending on your location, in the nakshatra of Purvabhadra. Joining the moon in Purvabhadra is Rahu, which lines up the moon, earth, and sun exactly for a total lunar eclipse. Opposite the moon and Rahu will be the sun, Ketu, and Mercury in Leo, specifically in the nakshatra of Purva Falguni. This eclipse will be visible in Australia, Asia, Europe, and Africa. Purva Falguni means full ripening, while Purvabhadra implies full prosperity. Add to this the vibes of the full moon, and we perceive the promise of harvest, gain, and payoffs. When we lay the shadowy energy of eclipse on top of this, perhaps what manifests is actually the opposite. Where there is a promise of fulfillment and prosperity, we may find a blockage or destabilization that sabotages our realization of long-term gains. Remember that eclipses are temporary and only occur for a short time. The shadows cast could be a warning or a foreshadowing that also inspires us to make changes to our course so that inconsistencies outside of our control don't knock us off our path. Purvabhadra Nakshatra, which spans between 20 degrees Aquarius and 3 degrees 20 minutes Pisces, will be the host to the moon and Rahu, who are just a few degrees apart in the late degrees of Aquarius. Aquarius is co-lorded by Rahu and Saturn, making Rahu particularly strong during this 1.5-year transit between June of 2025 and November of 2026. Purvabhadra is ruled by Jupiter, who is also currently strongly placed in his own Punarvasu nakshatra and exactly aspecting Rahu during this time. This aspect is mutual. Both Rahu and Jupiter cast aspects in the same way and are bringing forward the energy of truth and illusion competing for attention. Layered truths and artificial intelligence are making it very difficult to perceive what is real and true during this time. Use the shifting light and shadow to find clues that are hidden within those layers of truths and falsehoods. Discernment and judgment may be the best tools for navigating out of stuck places and dangerous waters. Counterbalancing the Jupiter expanded lunar eclipse are the Sun, Mercury, and Ketu in Purva Falguni, a Venus-ruled nakshatra that sits entirely within Leo, the Sun's sign. The individuality of the Sun contrasts to the common ground of Venus, bringing forth the conflicts that come when trying to operate independently in the context of contract or relationship. Don't underestimate the power of diplomacy and negotiation that can occur internally and behind closed doors. Sometimes wrenching under the hood is what is required, not rearranging the furniture on the deck. Mars transits Libra September 13th through October 27th. The friction and pressure may lessen some when Mars moves out of Virgo on September 13th. Saturn's gaze can create a feeling of anxiety or pressure that drives us out of fear. That energy is coming into Virgo strongly due to Saturn's opposition aspect from Pisces. With Saturn still in retrograde motion, this pressure could be variable, which has its own element of frustration. The early weeks of September, with the Saturn-Mars opposition loosening up, but the Jupiter-Rahu aspect tightening up, the Mars in Virgo energy could be used for fixing, problem solving, and refitting so that plans and strategies can be salvaged without a catastrophic loss of resources. Mars in Virgo is focused on data analysis to maximize yield and productivity so that long-term strategies can be tweaked based on current conditions. From September 13th through October 27th, Mars in Libra will show our power and energy shift towards relationships, contracts, and trying to maintain a stance of business as usual. This plan sounds logical, but Mars is also attempting to forge ahead in a shifting environment that is both hot and expansive due to the strong energy of both Rahu and Jupiter beaming into Libra. With Mars added into the mental field already being churned by Rahu and Jupiter, we could see ideas unfolding very quickly, but not always in a productive way. A great time for brainstorming and powerful creation, but realize that not every seed will sprout, nor every spaghetti stick to the wall. What happens in the think tank may not always escape the walls of the think tank. Be judicious about taking things from theory to practice. When there is a mingling of Mars and Venus energies, we often have access to some form of creative passion. In this case, we have the functional design talent of Mars immersed in the open-minded creative flow of Venus's Libra. This is a good transit to find the balance between fashion and function. Venus transits Leo from September 14th through October 9th. As the Sun prepares to move out of his own sign of Leo with Mercury in tow, Venus enters on September 14th for a breezy trip through the Sun's fiery territory until October 9th. Breezy, or hurricane force, actually. With Venus joining Ketu and inviting Rahu's gaze, we may feel as if we are entering into an intense wash cycle, bleach and all. Remembering that we've got powerful Mars transiting through Venus's territory, we refer back to Venus's current situation as we try to predict how Mars will produce. Venus gets into the creative hot seat in Leo with the challenge of collaborating in the field of solo artistry. Additionally, Venus encounters tricky Ketu, whose essence involves standing in the way of material ease for the purpose of forcing us to look up and out of our earthbound attachments. With all things Venus during the late September and into October, we may encounter obstacles that force us to find creative solutions that may not be pleasant, but could result in some shade of beauty. Venus things include relationships, which tend to be an integral part of some other very big things, including business and politics. Venus will be the last of the inner planets to scale the wall that Ketu builds, leaving us all alone with our thoughts of liberation for a while. No planets will come to visit Ketu again, save the monthly checkup from the moon, until July 2026, when Venus herself leads the pack that will break up the instances of Kala Amrita Yoga that will pop up from April through June 2026. For the Venus things, mark this time in late September 2025 and see if there is a level up or a wrap up that comes in July of 2026. It could be a Venus in Leo encountering Ketu thing. At this time, Venus is rising before sunrise in its morning star phase. Venus will move past the Sun in December 2025 and January 2026, initiating a transition to evening star phase, where we will begin to see Venus in the western sky after sunset in March 2026. Whatever creative trajectories are initiated from this Venus and Ketu encounter, you can build in a rest and rise period when Venus goes dark in November, blazed out by the brightness of the Sun for the superior conjunction in January of 2026. Venus reappears as evening star during spring 2026. During this disappearance of Venus, heading for the heart of the Sun, we may find ourselves plunging privately into potent and creative energy from November through February. Mercury transits Virgo September 14th through October 3rd. Mercury's autumn itinerary has him galloping through Virgo and Libra, followed by a slowing down as he reaches Scorpio for a longer stay due to a retrograde cycle in November. Mercury moves into Virgo on September 14th, just after passing through deep combustion with the Sun, who enters Virgo right behind Mercury. The rapid transit of Mercury through Virgo could be quite potent from mid-September until early October. Mercury is in his own sign of Virgo and also acts as exalted there, with the fancy sculpting power of Saturn beaming in directly to Virgo. This could be a great time to shore up personal practice routines that require some discipline. This could also be a good time for diagnostics and finding clues and answers about what is working to maintain your health. Mercury in Virgo brings even more enthusiasm to the dual signs that are currently hosting both Saturn and Jupiter. The energy of dual signs is, as you would assume, not committed to one path only, while recognizing that bumps in the road can become directional suggestions, asking us to analyze our plans, learn more when we need to, and let go when it's time. This is a great stretch for spreading out the data and running the numbers as you decide how to tweak your daily routine for maximum fun and efficiency. The Sun transits Virgo September 16th through October 16th. The Sun's annual transit through his own sign of Leo puts the Sun into strength, which can bring clarity and the ability to make right choices that keep us on the appropriate pathways. This year, we experience a bit of a twist due to Ketu's current position in Leo as well. The brightest star in our sky, the Sun, confronting shadows created by a specific alignment on his own turf, can certainly confuse the perception of what is the right thing to do. This condition prevails for the first half of September, highlighted by the total lunar eclipse of September 7th. This creates some challenge for Leo in the way of Ketu creating a sense of insurmountable problems. Additionally, Ketu's presence also invites the direct aspect of Rahu, adding to a sense of confusion or powerlessness in the face of situations beyond one's control. The Sun moves into Virgo on September 16th, just a few days after Mars departs, walking steadily at his pace of 1 degree per day through an opposition with Saturn that is exact on September 21st, the same day as the partial lunar eclipse that we're looking at in the next section. Because the upcoming eclipse is partial, that means that there is some space between the nodal axis and the luminaries. In this case, the nodes and the luminaries are in adjacent signs, but about 9 to 10 degrees apart. Energetically, this bundles in some extra planetary input into the partial veiling that Ketu causes on the sun and moon as they conjoin for the monthly new moon. With the nodal axis, we have Rahu in Aquarius and Ketu in Leo. Ketu is joined by Venus. With the luminaries, the sun and moon in Virgo, we have exalted and own sign Mercury, as well as a very tight and direct aspect of retrograde Saturn at 5 degrees Pisces. Because of Rahu's involvement and the current mutual aspect of Rahu and Jupiter in the air signs, both Jupiter in Gemini and Mars in Libra are swirled into the mix, bringing all 9 planets into focus during this partial eclipse. This could feel like a pivotal moment where revelations sneak through despite conscious attempts to confuse and cover, where the total lunar eclipse of September 7th had Sun positioned in Purva Falguni. This partial eclipse of the Sun itself happens in Uttara Falguni, where a ripe situation either gets harvested or wasted. During the remainder of the Sun's transit through Virgo, we may be dealing with the fallout of events around the equinox, which kicks off the autumn months until the winter solstice. The autumnal equinox occurs with the sun in the earth sign of Virgo, showing the earth element theme that plays out as winter approaches, where we consolidate resources born of the power of the summer sun and prepare to head into the winter season, resting, restoring, and nourishing from the current harvest. New moon in Virgo, partial solar eclipse September 21st. At the new moon, we lose sight of our consistent nightlight, which lines up with the sun and vanishes briefly from our observation. The sun and moon conjoin at the new moon, which some mark as the beginning of the lunar cycle. When any other planet passes through the heart of the sun, we call that combustion, known to challenge the voice of the planet passing through the brilliant orb of the sun. The moon does it monthly, which reflects in feelings of release and renew as we wind down one cycle and start another, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Our point of reference for these monthly new beginnings actually lies with the location of the sun, which advances at the rate of 1 sign per month. For this partial eclipse, we see Virgo, the earth sign ruled by Mercury, as the scene. Virgo is associated with health, service, work, and practice, as well as with the flip side of all of those things, illness, entitlement, laziness, and bad habits. On September 21st, the sun and moon join at 5 degrees Virgo, opposed exactly by retrograde Saturn at 5 degrees Pisces. The south node of the moon, Ketu, sits close enough away in Leo to cause a partial solar eclipse. With each of the planets somehow connected to this partial curtain call at the turning of the seasons, all of the cards are on the table during this new moon. Uttar Falguni, which spans between Leo and Virgo, is ruled by the sun. The power of this nakshatra has to do with prosperity gained by union. The deity called Bhaga rules Uttara Falguni, bringing the concept of right use of wealth and resources to mind. We are in it, but not enough to remain completely blind or shielded from the truth. The Ketu factor asks us to feel into our bones, to sit with our resources, our connections, and our habits. Now is the time to realize and recreate, to untangle and separate from that which makes us unwell. Go deep and listen keenly. The answers are there. They are, in fact, in your hand already. Open one eye and take a peek. October 2025 headlines. Mercury transits Libra, October 3rd through the 24th. The full moon comes on October 6th at 20 degrees Pisces in Revati Nakshatra. Venus transits Virgo from October 9th through November 2nd. The Sun transits Libra, October 17th through November 15th. Jupiter enters Cancer, October 18th. New moon at 4 degrees Libra, Chitra Nakshatra, on October 21st. Mercury transits Scorpio from October 24th through November 23rd. And then Mars transits Scorpio from October 27th through December 8th. Thank you so much for listening. Take care of yourselves, and I will be back in October. Thank you for listening to this presentation. If you are interested in following my work, look for Kerry Shamblin Astrology on YouTube, Spotify, Patreon, Facebook, and Instagram. My monthly forecast is published in written and audio format on my website, planetaryinfluence.com, where you can join my email list or book a one-on-one session with me. My goal is to light your path toward a joyful and liberated life experience.